Not Nerd Podcast, episode 356, Double the Bass.
Welcome to the Not Nerd Podcast. I'm Nate Heath, and we are here to help you tech better. Here with me, as always, Mr. Dave Baylor.
Hello there. Hi there. Ho there, mister. How are you?
Oh, I am good. I'm good, and even better after that, as I'm sure all of our listeners are as well.
Yes, and I moved my camera to a different screen so that I can look at you while you're looking at me. And everybody at home is going, that has no relevance.
No relevance for the audio podcast. Well, let's get into some relevance with our follow-up. We were talking last episode about the Amazon Prime Thursday Night Football and how that was going good. I actually remembered I was sitting around last Thursday night and fired up the Prime app, and there's a big thing right at the top. And I watched a lot of the football game, and it seemed like any other NFL game I've watched. But I also got in the mail last week, the physical mail.
Wow.
A postcard from Amazon that says how to watch Thursday Night Football. And it gives you some simple instructions on one side. And then on the other side, it gives you the Thursday Night Football schedule. So they use the physical mail, Dave.
That's weird, but it's good. It's a feelie for all the oldies. If
Yeah.
we use a bunch of terms.
Yes.
So that's pretty cool because it can be quite daunting for somebody who's just used to turning it on channel 7 and watching the game to have to open up a web browser or launch an app or get a device. So, and not related at all, but on topic, I actually watched a movie on Amazon last night because I was like, I wonder what's on Amazon.
Yeah.
I haven't turned that on in 500 years, Amazon Prime Video. And so not only sports are people looking for content, you can, I don't know if you remember, but you can watch movies and TV shows there too.
Wow. It's amazing. It's amazing.
And you're probably already paying for it.
Yes. And I've got a second piece of mail from this week.
What?
This is our first ever episode with 2 pieces of physical mail.
How old are you, by the way? Okay, please.
In some ways, very old. This is the Tualatin Life newspaper. But here you'll see a little article. Lime replaces Bird in Tualatin e-scooter launch. So we were talking a while back that and I thought it was going to be the Bolt scooters, the Usain Bolt, but they went bankrupt. Maybe Bird was after them. So my wife actually noticed around town a couple of these scooters, like by the library, and we were having a discussion just on, like, Tualatin is not a rental scooter friendly town. Like, if you're at the library, you're going to ride a scooter home, then is somebody going to, like, your neighbor's going to come out and hop on the scooter to ride it somewhere else?
And the downtown area is kind of like in 2 square blocks or something.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, where are you going to go? You'll die if you go on any of the streets.
Yeah, yeah. So it's interesting. I've seen a couple of them around, and I have not seen anyone using them yet. So we'll see how long the pilot program lasts in Tualatin.
I have an account. Maybe you and I should go down there and
rent a couple
and drive around.
Live on the scene.
Yeah.
Breaking news episode. We'll go ride some scooters around.
That'd be fun.
Yes. Well, the next one, my pick of the week, I don't know if I've ever mentioned this, but I like to listen to podcasts.
Oh, I think you've mentioned that.
Yes.
I think you're on one.
Oh, am I? I should check that one out.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
You're present.
I'm present, yes. But I realized that in my app of choice, a previous pick of the week, PocketCasts, that today, as we record, October 3rd, 2022, is my 4-year anniversary of using the app. 4 years of using PocketCasts, and they have some lovely stats in there that I thought that I would share. I'm going to start with the bottom of the stats. Auto skipping. So this is something I started recently doing, like podcasts where there's a couple minutes of ads. You can actually tell it to skip the first 2 minutes of the podcast, which is very nice.
I use that in another app.
Yes. With that, I have saved 1 day and 15 hours of time with auto skipping. Trimming silence. So I have this set on the super aggressive mode where it tries to trim out any silence in a podcast. I have saved 18 days and 23 hours.
Wow.
variable speed, because I listen to mine at 1.4, 1.5, which is, I will remind people, I've mentioned this before, 1.5 in PocketCasts is much different than 1.5 in the Apple Podcast app. It's slower, it's easier to listen to for whatever reason. But with variable speed, I have saved 112 days and 6 hours of time.
Yeah, but here's the thing. You just cram more podcasts into that space.
Well,
So
we're getting to that.
you've saved no time. You've just consumed
Yes.
more content.
And just skipping alone, using my Nintendo finger to skip through ads,
Yeah.
I've saved 24 days and 5 hours. So my total savings is 157 days, 3 hours. Dave, in the last 4 years, how many days and hours do you think worth of podcasts I've listened to?
In the past 4 years?
Yes.
4 years? No. I'm going to say 2.75 years.
2.75 years. Well, not quite that much. And I did realize I've slowed down a little bit in the last couple of years.
I
Work
guess you do
getting in the way.
sleep and stuff.
Yeah, I do sleep sometimes. But my total is 270 days, 22 hours of podcast listening.
Well, the reason I guess so high is because you are never without an AirPod in your ear. And I'm assuming that 90% of the time I see you with that, a podcast is going. Even when I'm around and you're talking to me, I'm just assuming a podcast is going on in your ear.
Yes. As most people do, think that I am not paying any attention. So if my calculations are right, or Apple calculators calculations are right, 4 years is 1,460 days. And then I would divide that by 271 hours, which would give me 5.4 hours per day of podcast listening. But that's with the faster speed, so that would be a lot of extra math. But I just thought that I would prove to all of our listeners and you, Dave, that I do listen to a lot of podcasts.
Well, you don't have to prove it to me. You, with the information that you know and the amount of knowledge that you pull out, I'm assuming you listen to all the podcasts.
Pretty much. Well, our next piece of follow-up, it's been a while since we've had one of these stories. Google's shutting something down, and it is Stadia.
Yes, this was, I mean, it's one of those things, as soon as it was launched, you're like, I wonder how long this is going to last. And it finally bit the bullet. And so I got to tell you, I read a couple articles, watched a few videos, and one, it surprised nobody, but the amount of communication apparently that Google had with third-party developers and partners and stuff that this was going to shut down, they found out along with everyone else.
Wow.
I tell you, how that company stays in business. Oh yeah, they own internet search. That's how.
Yes. So Stadia is a server-based gaming system. All the Amazon's got it, Microsoft's got it. They've all these Steam, all these different, where you're playing on your computer or your device, but it's actually the gameplay is happening on a server somewhere. But they're shutting it down. They're going to keep using some of the technology. They are doing something pretty interesting. They're fully refunding any hardware purchases that people have made of Stadia or any subscriptions, any of that. They're going to start refunding everybody on that. So I thought that was a nice gesture, but at the same time, it's like, come on, Google.
Well, it makes me sad that I didn't sign up for it to get like the controller and the hardware and bought some games or whatever, because I think everybody's going to get all their money back. And it's like, oh man, I could have been gaming for free.
Yes.
But who could have guessed they would have lost millions upon millions just giving away something for free? I mean, come on, Google.
Come on, Google. Our next story. Now, we were talking last week about James Earl Jones and Darth Vader's voice and the AI stuff. Well, you had found a story that said that Bruce Willis had sold his likeness to a deepfake company. But then I found another article from the Hollywood Reporter, which I think we had them last week. It's like
we did.
The last couple weeks, they're like becoming
what's happening in Hollywood.
Yeah, they're like our primary tech news source these days.
Yeah.
But the headline is Bruce Willis's rep refutes report that he sold his digital likeness to deepfake companies. So
yeah, this is the problem with just social media and all that stuff, and and the world at large,
Yes.
is that we take it at face value, but then maybe it's not true. Like, how do you determine
Yeah.
what's
And
truth?
how do we know this is true? That,
Yeah. And there was a big hurricane in Florida this past week,
oh, yes.
and I heard some some rumors or whatever about there's this photo with like a shark in it that was going up a street that had been flooded. And then I saw some other posts. People were saying, oh, that's totally fake, or what makes you think it's a shark? It could be blah, blah, blah. I never even took the time to look up the photo.
Yeah.
I'm just watching this in the miasma of media as it floats by me.
Yes.
Or then this weekend, a friend came in and was talking about the stuff that was going on and said, hey, did you see that thing about the shark in the streets down in Florida? And I was just like, so I've heard it on media.
Yes.
That is true, that it's not true. And now a person in real life is talking about it. And so I still to this day don't know whether the shark in the street was a real thing or a fake thing. Who knows what the truth is?
Yes, it's so true. It's so hard to get any accurate information, especially when the news moves so fast. And also in fast-moving news, Meta to cut headcount for first time, slash budgets across teams.
Yes, and joke's on me, because a while back when their stock crashed for some reason, probably they were, getting sued or whatever, buying some company for $1 trillion and then shutting it down, whatever it was, their stock went down. And I was like, oh, it's going to go back up because people are stupid and they're still going to sign up for Facebook. Well, joke was on me. It just kept going down. And now it looks like they're having some troubles.
Yes. So the subheadline, Zuckerberg says social giant will end 2023 as a somewhat smaller, in quotes, organization. So yes, we talked a while back about how their stock it was like 50%. That was a massive dive, but they're continuing to have problems over at Meta with all they've got going on. But you know who's getting into the metaverse?
Who's that?
Walmart.
Of course they are.
Yes.
Because that just makes all the kind of sense that does, to quote Renee Ritchie.
The CNBC headline, Walmart enters the metaverse with Roblox experiences aimed at younger shoppers.
I don't know what to say about this. Does your daughter still participate in Roblox?
She is a heavy Roblox user, and we play together sometimes. So by next week, I will go to the Walmart metaverse on Roblox and check it out, see what it's all about. So.
I probably won't. just so you know.
And you probably shouldn't. The two new experiences are called Walmart Land and Walmart's Universe of Play. They got really original with their naming.
Creative.
At least they didn't call it Walmart Plus, but maybe they do have a Walmart Plus. What do they call their subscription service? I can't keep up these days.
I have no idea, to be honest with you.
Well, you know what I do have an idea about? Dave's Pro Tip of the Week.
Yes, this week, it's going to be simple. It's a Siri tip. Now, Nate, I don't know if you knew this, but your phone has Siri built into it.
Oh.
That's this little voice assistant that you can talk to. If you get a text message or you're writing an email, text message is probably the best thing, is when you're driving and there's an alert that you got a text message. You can simply say, reply with audio, and it will let you record an audio message. Instead of like speech to text, it'll just record your voice and send it as a file to the person on the other side. Have you ever done this, Nate? Is this something that you frequent?
I have done this right before we started recording the show to test it out. But
you're breaking the magic.
Yes.
Oh.
We can cut that in post, but I did not use this. I try to use the dictation sometimes, and it has gotten a lot better, the dictation, but I know a lot of people still have issues with it. It's even better in iOS 16 with the auto punctuation and stuff. I think this audio message thing's a really nice option that I just forget to use, but it is a way to get a good message, and you can convey a little bit more without having to throw 10 emojis in to convey your emotion. You can just do that. So
well, and I will say, for people who insist, I'm talking to you, friend in Las Vegas and brother, who insist on calling me on the phone at all hours with not a care in the world. Maybe instead just send me a voicemail message like this.
Yeah.
It's like leaving a voicemail. It's like making a phone call. Of course, it's not interactive, but I would much prefer to get an audio message from somebody versus them calling me on the phone. I mean,
Yes.
What is this? The Flintstones?
Exactly. Send you a fax. But yeah, to just send an audio message, and I'm in the Messages app a lot more than I'm in the phone app. So the chances that I'm going to see it and listen to it are much higher there. Well, Dave, I've got a special bonus pro tip of the week for us this week.
Hold on, that's my department.
Yeah, today I've got something for you Apple users, the Mac Geek Gab podcast. This show is in its 17th year of providing tips, cool stuff found, and answers to your questions about anything and everything Apple. Yes, that's right. Hosts Dave Hamilton and John F. Braun take time each week to actually provide tech support to as many listeners as possible while learning at least 5 new things weekly themselves. The great part is that they always make sure each answer has actionable tips with easy instructions for listeners too. For example, Dave's pro tip of the week today came from the Mac Geek Gab, and I've got a couple more for you.
Yeah, I stole it.
Yes. If you press and hold the mute button during a call on your iPhone, it will put that call on hold. I had no idea. Another great one, you can turn on Do Not Disturb on your phone by swiping down into the control center and simply tapping the little moon icon instead of having to go into the submenu.
I like moons.
Yes, I use this one all the time. You can bulk rename files in the Mac's Finder just by highlighting multiple items and choosing file rename, or you can right click if you've got a right click or a 2-finger click, and you can rename a whole bunch of files with a bunch of different options.
Very handy.
Yes, if you use an iPhone, a Mac, an iPad, an Apple Watch, an Apple TV, or are simply a technology enthusiast, you're going to love learning more about your technology with your 2 new favorite geeks over at Mac Geek Gab. Get your questions answered and have some fun along the way. Visit MacGeekGab.com or search for Mac Geek Gab on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Don't get caught without having Mac Geek Gab in your rotation.
Now, I have one thing to say about that. Your 2 new favorite geeks, does that mean they have to give up us as their favorite geeks?
Well, we're their favorite nerds, so it's
Oh.
work. It's a perfect universe. Your 2 favorite geeks, your 2 favorite nerds. Well, on to our takes for the week. So Apple got their iPhone announcement out of the way, so everybody else is doing announcements. I think we've got Google's coming up later this week, but Elon Musk had his AI day, or Tesla's AI day, and introduced his
artificial insemination?
Yes, you got it. Which for him, that's a whole different podcast. But he revealed a prototype of a humanoid Optimus robot that shares some AI software and sensors with its car's autopilot driver assistance features.
Yeah, so I looked at the clip on this, and they brought out like a skinless. This thing walked out, and it was kind of like the C-3PO in
Yes.
episode 1 of Star Wars, if you are a nerd or a geek. And then they kind of had to carry out the one that looked more humanoid with all the skin, and just the torso part worked. It was very like every other Elon Musk keynote.
Yes.
It was awkward, seemed to be unrehearsed, off the cuff. Like, hey, a couple people stopped by my garage. I'm just going to show
Hey, do we have
some
one of those robots with us today? Let's bring it out on stage at the last minute.
I think it's in the back, yeah.
It just goes to remind us we are so spoiled by Apple keynotes that are amazing.
Highly polished.
Yes.
Yes. So my takeaway, after having listened to various other comments on the keynote, was that, like, welcome to where Boston Dynamics was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And that what's that Honda robot?
Yeah.
That walks up the stairs or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, so it wasn't that impressive compared to other tech, but I suppose it was relatively impressive with how quickly they got to this point.
Yes.
But of course, they had all the tech from the past.
Plenty of people to borrow from.
They stood on the shoulders of giants, I
Yes,
suppose,
yes, giant
and
robots.
and got to where they were. What did you think of it? Did you take a look at it?
Yeah, I looked into it and I've heard a couple people in it very similar. It's, he's very aspirational and Tesla is, and, his production capabilities. I don't know how many Boston Dynamics or Honda are making of their robots, but I could see, Elon and Tesla starting to produce these things. And, it sounds like it would probably be best in like a production environment or something like that, as opposed to your friend that goes on a hike with you.
Right.
But yeah, I'm always interested to see what he's got up his sleeve.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what comes next. But, he has a vision, he creates a prototype, and then you never know whether it's going to come to market or not. I'm
Yes.
looking at you, Tesla truck or whatever that
Oh, yeah,
Cybertruck.
the Cybertruck.
You don't hear too much about that anymore.
No, you don't. No, you don't. Well, Amazon also had an event this week where they announced some new products. We were just talking, I don't know if it was last week or the week before, about the cheapest Kindle version that
Hmm.
they had, and the price had actually gone up. But they now have the most expensive Kindle, I believe. They have a Kindle that you can now doodle on. The Kindle Scribe is a ebook reader, but it also has writing and drawing capabilities on it.
Yes, it was to me, it was very reminiscent of the Remarkable tablet. Are you familiar with the
Yes, yes,
Remarkable?
I actually know someone that has one of those, and I used it briefly, and he's an architect, and he was super excited to get it. That he was going to just do all of his sketching on this Remarkable tablet, and I saw it once, and I haven't seen him with it again.
Yeah, I know a person who has one of the Remarkable tablets, and they used it to mark notes up on a script for a play that I was in
Hmm.
and loved it. But I'm just thinking, iPad, anyone?
Yeah, yeah,
But people don't like the distractions. I realize that,
yes,
but
yeah,
it's like, come on. It's
yes.
hard to beat the iPad.
Well, the Kindle Scribe can be yours for $340. So if that's something that interests you, buy one and let us know how it works. Uh,
Or you can buy an iPad for $329.
yeah,
So,
or $2.99 on Amazon most of the time.
yeah,
But yes, there are pros and cons. You just had the pick of the week a couple weeks ago about the Echo Dot speakers, but
that was last week, I believe.
yeah,
And there's a new one. And believe you me, I was a little bit fit to be tied after I had seen the announcement, but they're not available till later in October.
oh, okay,
So it would have been like 3 or 4 weeks after I'd gotten mine to set up at work for various reasons. And I was kind of on a deadline anyway and didn't have the time to wait for the new model. So,
yeah,
but yes, what's new about those? Now they're fifth generation instead of fourth generation. There's not
yeah.
much difference, I don't think.
So the Echo Dot and Echo Dot with clock, they also have a Echo Dot Kids edition, but both of those each get a new custom full range driver for better sounding music with double the bass.
Yes.
And there's also a neat, their words, not mine, neat new sensor that gives Alexa the ability to perform a task based on the room's temperature, so your smart fan can automatically kick on when it gets too warm. Now, if I had a really smart fan, it would be able to do that on its own. Like, wouldn't a
Yes.
smart fan have a temperature sensor in itself?
Isn't that
Uh,
kind of the
yeah,
use for the word smart?
you would think so. They also add gesture controls, so you can tap the top of the dot to dismiss a timer or control music.
Hmm.
So they've got that.
What I like about Amazon as opposed to Google is that they release a product that's pretty good and then they iterate and make it
Hmm.
better and more responsive and faster with more features, and the price stays around the same. So enthusiasts of technology, it's very simple for them to buy an affordable product that's just getting better and better. And who cares after 2 years if you gift your old device to another person, or better yet, trade it into Amazon
Yeah.
and get a discount on the newer one. It's almost like a pseudo subscription to their products because you just trade in your old ones and get a new one with a little extra money.
Yeah.
But I really like that they keep iterating and making these products better. And I have the second or third, I think it's the third generation Echo Dot. I have several of those around the house and love using them. I
Yeah.
think they're great.
Yes. Well, they also have the Echo Studio, which is $200, which has spatial audio processing. So this is a high-end version.
Like a home pod.
Yes, yes. So for $200, and they will have a software update for the older studios to add some of the features. And then they've got a new Echo Auto. Now, did you get one of the Echo Autos?
I did, and I used it for a while, and I really tried to love it, but it got to the point where it just was not auto connecting. It was causing me trouble. I tried to connect it to my phone for data, and it wouldn't work. And so I just like, you know what? Siri has gotten much better. I'm now an Apple Music subscriber,
Yeah.
so I can use Siri to just play music, and besides, they recently made a change, Apple did, where you can use Siri to integrate with any of the music services. So
Oh,
it
yeah.
wouldn't matter if I was still on Spotify or not. But that's kind of why I did it, because I wasn't using Apple Music at the time. So, hey, if they can improve that product, they really need to. So it's sitting in a drawer somewhere if you'd like to try it out. But I no longer feel like I need to have Alexa in my car.
Yes, yes. Well, the features on the new one, it's got a much smaller body than the last version.
It was only this big to begin with.
Yeah, so it's even smaller. Now, this next sentence is a good one. The new model includes 5 microphones, so you don't need to belt Alexa when the heater is blasting. And it comes with a new adhesive mount. So Wired had some fun writing their copy on this. But yeah, I don't have any need for it in my car. But I'm guessing there are people that are really in the Alexa environment and want to use it.
It worked fine when it worked, and then when it stopped kind of working fine, I kind of gave up on it.
Yeah. So they also, one of the interesting things is a bedside sleep tracker. So a lot of people wear their Apple Watches to sleep for sleep tracking or wear the Aura rings. I've heard a lot of people talking about those. But this is a little bedside clock that has some sensors built in to track your sleep via low energy radar.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure I want to know how all this stuff works,
Yes.
but I mean, it seems better to get a Fitbit or an Apple Watch or some other wearable device. So I don't, it feels like this is invading my privacy by showering my room with a radar.
Yeah, yeah. So it's $139 and comes with a 6-month trial of a Halo membership. So it's called the Halo Rise. So again,
Yeah. Interesting.
$140. If anybody gets one, let us know about it. So they did have a couple other products. They've got a new QLED Fire TV. They're in the TV business. They got a 65-inch for $800 or a 75-inch for $1,100, if that's what you're into, and a new, more powerful Fire TV Cube. So everybody knows the Fire TV sticks, but this is kind of their Apple TV competitor, and I believe it has a speaker built into it, it looks like, because it's so huge.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong. They've never manufactured an actual television set before, right? Just the Fire
I
Cube
don't
and the
know
Fire
if they
Stick?
did, because they've had Alexa built in. Like my TV has Alexa built in, I believe, so they've worked with it. But yeah, this might be their first venture into the TV and kind of in the lower range, the TCL like mine or the Vizios that we've talked about a lot.
Yeah.
So it does look to be their first television. So
Very cool.
yes.
It'll be interesting to see if the quality is there. And I'm curious what manufacturer they're partnering with, because I seriously doubt that they set up a factory in South Korea and are
Yeah.
making their own TVs.
Somebody's probably TCL's probably making it for him. A couple other things. Their Astro robot got a little smarter, which still costs $1,000. So I don't know who the market is for that.
Very rich people.
Yes, they've got some new Ring security devices, new Blink cameras, new Eero integrations. And I went fast on those last ones so we don't spend a half an hour on it like we did the iOS 16 features. But yeah, like you said, they keep iterating on stuff and making it better. And they've acquired, Ring and Eero for that stuff, and they're good products. So
Yeah, they just keep getting better.
we like that. And all of this was announced here in early October, and they have announced that they're going to do a second Prime Day this year.
How's that going to work?
They're just having another Prime Day, October 11th and 12th, I think, with a bunch of deals. Now, I did hear that I don't know if this is something they're always doing, but they're doing like a top 100 products kind of a thing. So you can, because if you just go through the Prime deals, there's so much junk in there, like their daily deals. But they're doing a little curation of stuff you might actually want to buy. But yeah, so they've got another Prime Day coming, which I think might tie in to kind of our Facebook story earlier about companies not doing so well and needing to sell some products.
Yeah, I think the last Prime Day, did you and I didn't buy anything. Did you buy anything that day?
I think I bought one thing, but I don't even know if it was a Prime deal. It was just something I needed to buy. So
yeah, the wind is kind of going out of those sales. So who knows? I mean, the whole market is depressed right now, and people got to stay in business. They got to exploit their workers. They've got just so they can make that extra cool billion.
Yes. Well, our next one, I was so excited to tell you about this week, Dave, because I heard about it last week, and it was an app, and it's called the OG app, and what it was just a OG version of Instagram.
And for those of you not wise to the words on the street, OG stands for Original Gangsta.
Yes. A studio album by Mr. Ice-T back in the day. But yes, so they started this app, but I think it was just 2 days later, it's been pulled from the Apple's App Store because Meta was not too excited about this ad-free original Instagram experience being out there competing with their Instagram ad-laden experience.
Yes, they didn't take kindly to someone making the exact same thing from their content with no ads. I mean, Go figure. Go figure.
Yes. Well, we do have a security and privacy story this week. Adware on Google Play and Apple Store installed 13 million with an M times.
Now, I don't like I assume this is going to happen on Android, but I don't like that this has happened on the Apple side of things. It makes me a little less confident to use their products.
Well, and from bleepingcomputer.com, the first sentence, security researchers have discovered 75 applications on Google Play and another 10 on Apple's App Store engaged in ad fraud. Collectively, they add to 13 million installations.
I thought there were more installations of Facebook and Instagram than that. Are we talking about different products?
Different.
Bum. That was a joke.
Whew.
I think that Facebook and Instagram are just spyware, and TikTok is spyware for the Chinese government. So
there you go.
I'll take off my cynical hat and assume that this was different companies experiencing this.
Yeah, so it says, apart from flooding mobile users with advertisements, both visible and hidden, the fraudulent apps also generated revenue by impersonating legitimate apps and impressions. And although these type of apps are not seen as a severe threat, their operators can use them for more dangerous activities. So these ones, it seems to be more of they were just doing all kinds of ad stuff so they could get all the money and doing shady stuff with ads, not necessarily something against you, but it affects all of us when all of that stuff gets ruined. They've got a list of iOS and Android apps there. It's nothing that I've heard of. So hopefully, they should be gone now. So.
And it's not always that easy. Just tonight, I was trying to download Detail app on my phone, and I went to the Apple App Store on my iPhone, and I typed in Detail Camera, which is the name of the app on the iOS App Store. It didn't come up. There was a million other ones, people who had sponsored or just regular stuff. So if I just typed in Detail, it was the top hit. But if I typed in Detail Camera, it was nowhere to be found, and that's the name of the app. So I can see how people could get confused as to what they're supposed to download, because it's a mess.
It is a mess, and I do firmly believe that Apple does a better job than Android does in the Google Play Store, but they are still not perfect for sure.
That is for sure.
Well, our bonus odd take of the week, I've got a nice little site, a very nerdy little site that I came across, and it is musicforprogramming.net. And
Wow. You
yes.
click on the site and I'm taken to a Unix wonderland.
Yes. And it says in the upper left, function music for parentheses task equal programming, closed parentheses, bracket return, a series of mixes intended for listening while $, bracket task, or curly brace, to focus the brain and inspire the mind. So they've fully embraced the programming. But I actually this morning I took the latest episode 64 and just played it, and they've got 64 different playlists. This one's an hour and 49 minutes of just good chill music, and it helped me work a little bit better this morning.
I love this instrumental kind of computery type music. So this is just great that I have another resource for it now.
Yes, yeah. So it's all kinds of different stuff, and probably a lot of music you haven't heard, but it's good for listening to when you need to focus in and get something done.
When you need to program stuff.
Yes, and when you don't need to program stuff, you need our picks of the week.
Well, speaking of nerdy and kind of continuing on conversation that we had last week or the week before regarding Google Chrome making a change to their engine so that ad blockers will no longer work, which I live and die by ad blockers, honestly.
Yes.
So Firefox has always been one of those options that's kind of onto the side. It's not based on the Chromium engine, but it's a little geeky to use. It's not as user friendly as some of the other ones, especially if you're trying to install extensions and use different accounts and various. They march to their beat of their own drummer type of thing. It took me several days, but I finally cracked the code, and I'm able to use Firefox now, very similar to how I had used the Brave browser, which was very similar to how I had used Chrome before that, in that I can launch and sync various profiles across computers, which is very important to me.
Yes. Yeah.
I have a work profile, I have a home profile, I have a second work profile that's more for the marketing communications team, and I have another one for the IT department that have their own bookmarks and their own plugins and their everything, accounts that log in automatically, various things like that are useful only to the tasks that I'm doing at this time. So I like to have things like that separated. And I really didn't understand how to do it on Firefox. But like I said, I've cracked that code. Everything's working fine now. So my pick of the week is, if you want to get in early before the ad blocker ineffectiveness happens in the Chrome browsers, just download Firefox. For those of you who know me or can connect with us via the show, I can give you some tips and tricks on how to manage all that stuff. But all my favorite extensions are there. My Grammarly's there. My password manager's there. I mean, everything seems to be there for me. And hallelujah, my uBlock origin blocks all the ads for various video streaming sites that you might visit for how-to and entertainment.
Yes.
So I love it.
Very nice. Very nice. Yeah, I've used Firefox. I've got it on my computer. It's not part of my workflow right now, but it is a very nice little browser.
Yeah, it takes a while to get things organized for your workflow, but once you do, it works well.
Yes. Well, 2 weeks ago, I had my pick, and I apologize in advance, the Golden Goblins game, and it's just a, click and grinder. It's a grinding game. Well,
I got to tell you, Nate, I tried it out for about an hour, then I gave up and I've never touched it since.
You are better for that. Well, I believe it was through an ad in that game that I found another game that is somewhat similar, but I think some of our listeners might be a little more interested in the story in this one instead of goblins in a mine shaft. This one is called The Office, Somehow We Manage.
And this is not affiliated with the NBC program, The Office?
It is.
Oh, it is?
Yes. And so it has all the characters. And so you're in the office, and instead of mining gems or whatever, on this one, you're making sales. So it's available both on Apple and Google Play, but it's The Office Somehow We Manage, and it's got all the characters, and there's different episodes, so it'll have a little storyline piece in there, and then you have to get so many sales. So it is a time waster, but It's The Office, so it's a better time waster.
Well, it maybe at least a higher quality
Yes,
time waster.
yes,
Yeah, I see Pam, I see Jim, I see Michael, I see everyone. It's like Romper Room. I'm telling you who I'm seeing
yes,
through the TV here.
yes.
All these games are the same. Resource management, cookie clicker
Yeah.
type games, but I definitely will check it out.
Yeah, so it's a fun one. And one of the things I realized, because this one and the Golden Goblins, so you have kind of the normal thing that you work through, and it's like there's not really a lot of motivation to be in there all the time. But both of these games, their secret is they have events. So there's like a 2-day event where you have to go in and it's completely separate from the regular gameplay, and you get special things. And then if you're one of the top placers, you get a lot of rewards for the normal thing. So that's how they get you. And I've successfully broken free from the events for now, where I'm just kind of going in there once or twice a day and playing my little things. But yeah, you can go to the office somehow we manage game.com, rolls right off the tongue.
Yeah, it
And you
does.
can sign up for the latest news. So I'm going to do that right now so I can get emails from them.
And one caption from the article I'm reading, Michael, Jim put my stapler in Jello again. I demand you downsize him immediately. That's Dwight talking.
Yes.
So, man, fun had for all I can
Yes.
tell.
Yes. You can reminisce about
Yes.
the Office if you're not still constantly watching it, as some people do. But yeah, so it's made by Eastside Games, but right on their site they've got Universal and Peacock on there, so it's an officially licensed. At first I was like, what kind of ripoff is this? But it's full on The Office.
Very cool.
Yes. Well, with that, I think we should wrap up this episode. Thank you so much for listening. Share it with a friend, share it with an enemy, share it with somebody you don't know, whoever it is, so everyone could get out there and tech better.
Hang on a second. I'm making all kinds of noise.
We might have to publish the video this week. That is prime.
What do you think of that?
Dome cam.
Hold on, there's more.
Oh, jeez.
What in the world?